everyone. Today I am going to tell you a short story. Who was Vikramaditya? Actually, I read all those stories when I was a kid, so I wanted to share those stories with all of you. Now listen to the story, and the name of the story is Who was Vikramaditya? Let me begin. Between two rivers, Mahila and Sabravati, there was a forest. In that forest, a sage was ruling over there, and his name was Chamberlain. He had a beautiful daughter. Her name was Yasovanti. And due course of time, Yasovanti married to a king, and his name was Premsena. They lived very happily for a few years, and they were blessed with a daughter. They kept her name as Madanarekha. Day by day, Madanarekha grew up, and she also became very beautiful. This king, Premsen, had two pages, Devasarma and Harisarma. Devasarma always took the clothes of the king, and he washed all the clothes in the river bank. One day while he was washing the clothes of king, at that time he heard a voice. The voice said that, "Oh Devasarma, go and ask your king to give the marriage of his daughter Madanarekha to me." He was surprised. He looked here and there, but he couldn't see anyone. Then he went away and told everything what had happened in the river bank. The king didn't believe him first. Then he asked Harisarma to go and wash the clothes next day. So next day Harisarma went with the clothes and washed it. At that time he also heard the same words and same voice. So he came back and informed the king that yes, he heard whatever Harisarma was telling, the same thing. The king was amazed. He was surprised how and who was telling all these things. So when Harisarma went to wash the clothes, he went there hiding himself behind him, and he stood a little distance away. He also heard the king also heard the same thing. "Ask your king to give his daughter's marriage to me." He was very much stunned, and the voice also said that if the king could not give the marriage of his daughter to me, then it would not be good for his city or for his people. So the king came back, and he was very much scared. He then called his ministers, priests, and all other learned fellows and consulted with him. Then they said, "O king, without knowing the person, how can you give your daughter's marriage?" Then the king agreed, and again he went to the river bank. Then he announced, "Oh God, I don't know whether you are God or semi-God or who are you, but how can I give you my daughter's marriage to you without seeing?" Then the voice said, "You have to give her marriage to me." Then he said, the king said, "Okay, if you are God or semi-God, whoever it may be, but if you have divine power, then build one copper wall around my city and a palace with 32 features where a person can live." The voice said, "Well, within 2 days it can be built. But one thing just remember, since you asked me, I was the Chamberlain of Indradev in past life. But since I was always engaged with other fellows' wives, Indradev forbid me so many times not to do that. But I didn't listen to him, and ultimately he caused me to take the form of an ass. And now I am in ass form and roaming around the bank river and on your city. The king then said, well, if you can build the copper wall and the palace, I would believe you. And ultimately, he also said that I am on one of the porter's house. Ultimately, the king gave the marriage. 2 days after, the king saw actually the copper wall was built and a palace was also stood there. After 2 days, so the king was very happy and he agreed to give the marriage of his daughter. Then, with everybody's presence, the marriage was held. Madanarekha was quite felt very bad that how his father could give her marriage with an ass, but she had no choice but got married. And they came and lived on that palace which was made by the god. Every day night, that ass transformed his body, left his skin of ass, and he came to the form of a beautiful, handsome, divine person. And with that form, he enjoyed his life with Madanarekha. Gradually, they lived very happily and every day it was happening. Then Madanarekha thought that she was very happy and she didn't want to leave that palace neither to the ass. But this was noticed by her mother. One day her mother came and saw that this donkey was every day changing his form and entering into the room. So what she did, when the ass changed his form, this semi-god, at that time and entered into the room at that time, Madanarekha's mother took that ass form and threw it into the fire. And this act of her mother was noticed by the semi-god. He then said, "Oh, Madanarekha, my course is over. The day it would be burnt out, I was supposed to go back to heaven. So now I am going back." Then Madanarekha said, "Then what will I do?" "Oh dear, just tell me, I am carrying your baby. What will I do here alone?" Then he said, "Well, you just take care of the baby and name him as Vikramaditya. And remember one thing, one maid of your house, she is also pregnant by me, and name him as Vatrish Simhasana. So they both are my children. You take care of them, because in future Vikramaditya will be the king of your kingdom." This everything was heard by her mother. So Yashovanti immediately went and informed the king what she heard. Then King Premchand was very much worried that my daughter's son could be the king in future. So he sent the soldiers, his army, to take a guard of his daughter, the day and night. So when Madanarekha saw that the guards were roaming around her palace, she called her maid, a florist, and told her to save her child. She just guessed that maybe they wanted to kill her son. So she requested her maid to take care of her child and to name him as Vikramaditya and the maid's son as Vatrish Simhasana. The maid agreed. She was quite loyal to Madanarekha. She agreed and Madanarekha immediately cut her belly and gave birth the child, Vikramaditya. And this maid took both Vikramaditya and Bhartrihari and went away. Madanarekha died after this. This way, King Vikramaditya grew up with the maid who came to a city known as Ujjain. And after that, what had happened, I'll tell you later. Thank you so much. But one thing, Vikramaditya Betal stories are known to each and everyone. Not only Vikramaditya and Betal, the Akbar and Birbal also. But the stories have its own charm. It would never become old. Even I read the same thing when I was a kid. That is why I wanted to share with all of you. Thank you so much once again. I'll meet you tomorrow.